Hey everybody, Dave here, working on the 99 FourTrax 300. Got some parts delivered today. Got some tie rods, left and right side for the steering, and that's what I'm going to be replacing. So let's get started. I'm sure there's more than one way to do this job. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to disconnect the outer tie rods on both sides, and then I'm going to remove this big nut right here, and that will allow me to remove this center steering piece that has both tie rods bolted to it. So I'm going to disconnect both ends of each tie rod, remove this nut, and then both tie rods will come out, and then I can disconnect the inners on a workbench where I got more room. Okay, so this is the left side outer tie rod end. It's got a 17mm nut. We're going to remove that. Okay, the whole thing is spinning now. So if you look closely, there are some flat spots on this top part. They're also 17mm, so if you take a 17mm and you hang on to it to stop it from spinning, then the nut will come right off. Okay, now I got a 7/8 inch nut that I need to remove. It is on the end of the steering rod, and there's a look at it there. So we'll get a wrench into it, and let's see if we can get this off. Oh, there we go. Okay, not bad. I'm turning the handlebars to kind of move it so that I can reach the next set. Now I think it'll come off by hand. Got a washer. Now with both tie rod ends disconnected, this thing will come out, hopefully. There it is. Okay. Okay, these inner tie rods come out exactly the same as the outer tie rods, so that should be 17mm, and there are flat spots on here to grab as well. So I'm going to assume they're going to spin. I'm going to grab it with a wrench. Make sure it's 17. It is. There's one. Two. Okay. So now I'm going to assemble the new ones to this exact length. I don't think they need to be laser aligned. This thing's not going to put 60,000 miles on pavement. It's going to be on the dirt. So I'm just going to assemble the new tie rods to this exact length and then reassemble everything. Okay, so here's the new assembly, and you gotta notice one's marked with an L for left and the other one is not. These things one's backwards threaded. And the reason they do that is the only way to adjust this thing once it's in the vehicle is you got to turn this rod. So when you turn this rod, you want them to be either going out or in. If they were both threaded the same way, they would just move like this and never change the length. So by turning this, you need to change the length of this thing. So one needs to be going left hand thread, one needs to be going right hand thread, which is the way I have it now. So let's line it up with a tie rod end and see if we can match the length. Okay, here's how I'm going to determine the length to make sure it's right. I've got this thing set up. I've got these two straight boards touching the length of these things, and now I'm just going to measure. And I've got this board at 17¼ inches, and up here 17¼ inches. So I know that's close enough. And if these boards were like this, I know this one would be too long. If they were like this, then this one would be too short. I got them parallel with each other. So I'm satisfied with that. Now I'm going to lock these down. Alright, so I've got these things at the correct length. Now I want to assemble everything back together again. A couple of notes. I've got a flat spot here on this adjustment rod. I want to make sure that this flat spot where I can adjust the length of this thing to adjust the toe if I need to. I want this to be on the outside by the wheel and not up into the center where I won't be able to reach it. So these flat spots out by the wheel on the outers. There's the other flat spot on the outers. And then this little centerpiece, these tie rods go up through them. So there's up and up. I kind of like these original nuts. So I'm going to reuse these. They look like they're better quality than these Castle nuts. Yeah, I think these nuts were crushed a little bit, so they kind of won't loosen up, but there's a cotter pin in there I'll put in anyway. But I'm going to sock these down, holding the flats with a 17 mil. So here we go. Lock onto that. Tighten this down. Come on, get on there. There we go. Alright, that impact is, the movement here is absorbing a lot of that impact. So I might just grab a 17 mil by hand and torque it one final time. I'm sure they're tight, but because I'm not using a Castle nut, I want to make sure they're tight. Yeah, that's tight. Yeah, I couldn't even budge that. So that's good and tight. I will put a couple cotter pins in there, and then the center will be ready to go back in. And a couple cotter pins. Well, these are hard to reach, so I'm only going to bend over one tab in case I do need to get them back off again. I don't have to fight with both of them. So that's good. Now we'll put this back in the bike, and then all we got to do is secure the outer tie rod ends. Okay, and there's the stud that I'm going to mount this steering piece to. There it is. Okay, now just one other thing, you want to make sure that the handlebars are straight when you put this splined centerpiece in. It also needs to be straight, facing straight. So handlebars are straight. Okay, like that. And now the 7/8 inch nut. Sock this down tight, and then we'll put a cotter pin through the stud so even if it loosens it won't fall off. One more. Alright, that's not going to loosen up. And a new cotter pin through it. Done. Alright. I left this lock nut loose. So let's put these in place and let's see what the toe looks like initially. I left this loose from the nut and then I think it spun around a couple times. Let's try that. And then the final tightening, this castle nut. Which is not 17. And now tighten down this new castle nut, which is now a 19 instead of 17. Put a cotter pin in there, tighten the other side, and we're good. Alright, so here we are. We've got brand new steering tie rods. The rod itself, the inner end, the outer end, everything's been replaced. Now the steering should be nice and tight. It wasn't very difficult. Probably easier to do it now when all the plastics are off of it. I get better access to it. But not a difficult job. Doesn't require any special tools. And this will firm up the steering if you've got loose handlebars or I mean, these things take a pounding, so I was looking at them and I decided, you know what, I could get 2 complete tie rod arms with ends and everything for like 40 bucks. I'm doing this right now, so I should be good for the steering for quite some time. You know, the rough bumping down the road shouldn't be a problem. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, thanks for watching.